Us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're live here on WYSL until 1 p.m. So give us a call if you want to participate in the discussion. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Shout out down the line to our friends listening over at WACK out in Newark, and all of our friends listening online too. Friends listening on A Free Solution, the Facebook page, A Free Solution, the YouTube channel, and the Kevin Wilson pages. Wherever you're listening today, thank you for being here. Appreciate you coming to hang out and chat with us. Leave your comments online if they're good. I will respond to them live on air. And we're trying to get Tim Smith from the Liberty Show on the line. I don't know if he's here yet. Oh, you're on. Oh, yes. There you are. Good. We're like, I don't know if he's here yet or not. Oh, glad you could be with us, Tim.
Thank you. It's always awesome to be on. We were having technical difficulties thanks to Rona and the internet, but we are on.
It happens. So Tim, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, I should say. And we had an interesting discussion last Saturday. Is you talking with an anarcho-communist, chatting about a handful of different issues. So that's what we ended up talking about that day. I don't know. Let's talk about that. What did you take away from that conversation? I think you guys are both kind of like making your cases for your ideology. So I felt it was more like combative, but yeah. What do you think of talking with someone on the way far left?
That's interesting. I thought going into the conversation, if you will, that it would be a lot more combative. Yeah. I think this proved to me even more so that it's imperative that we who are liberty leaning, we who stand for liberty, we who identify as perhaps libertarians, that we sit down and have these conversations with folks who don't agree with us. And the funny thing about it is that even though he identifies, and shout out to Jedediah, even though Jedediah, who's I believe he's a member of Antifa, but he identifies as an anarcho-communist, it's funny, and I found it really curious that we both agree that the system sucks. We both agree that we're all being taken advantage of. The only difference is that how we approach these solutions on how we're all being screwed over. So yeah. I found that not only entertaining, because I was just utterly shocked that we had so much common ground, but it was educational because instead of yelling at each other, which I was more than prepared to do, I found that, there's common ground. And because there's common ground, even though we may identify differently than each other, we both see who the enemy is, and we both understand that we're being screwed over. So that creates an atmosphere for us to sit down at the table and say, listen, we may not agree on everything, but let's work on those issues we agree on, and let's try and reach a solution that's amenable for both of us.
Yeah, no, every once in a while, it's funny because I'll talk to people who are on like the far left. Like it's almost like horseshoe theory thing. Like there's certain things where like you start to agree, but the solutions, like I said, they end up being radically different. Because I talked to the friends who identify as like left anarchists, and yeah, they're like, oh yeah, no, the state's terrible. It does all these terrible abusive things, and then they're like, but the reason why is because of capitalism. And I'm like, whoa, all right, you lost me at that one there. So
that's an interesting point, because in our conversation, or as we staged it as in our debate, we both identified that capitalism isn't the issue. The issue is crony capitalism. And that's what we as liberty-leaning individuals, we need to ride out on that. We need to blow that horn that, listen, it's not capitalism that's screwing you over. It's crony capitalism that's screwing you over. And we need to identify and describe what exactly is crony capitalism.
Well, give us the quick definition then here.
So in our debate or conversation, I believe we both agreed on this definition of what crony capitalism is. And it's the definition that I believe we both agreed upon is that when the political elites and when the wealthy classes get together and they use government to create regulations, they use government to create laws that screw over the individual, that's crony capitalism. And one example of this, Jedediah mentioned, well, wait, what if some huge corporation comes in and dumps water in your lake or your drinking aquifer, whatever the case is? How do you, as a libertarian, how do you, as a liberty-leaning individual, someone who believes that liberty should be for all, how would you address that? And that's a whole story that we got into on our debate. But we as individuals, we understand, our liberty-leaning individuals, we understand that there is a difference. There's not just a distinction. There's a huge difference between crony capitalism and true capitalism. True capitalism allows all individuals to prosper without hindrance from the government, without hindrance from the political classes, without hindrance from the elites.
Yeah. And actually, I want to go back to the, like, I assume you mean like dumping like toxins, dumping pollutants in a lake example, right? All right. So like, because this is something that comes up like every time I'm on like some sort of like left-leaning progressive type show. They're like, whoa, you libertarians, like you just want to let everyone pollute and have unfettered capitalism. Gotcha. And like we don't have an answer for that, right? Because what ends up happening in these situations, you have a couple ways of being able to deal with it, right? Like you got negative externalities, right? Like if you impose a cost on others, like that cost needs to be paid for. You're polluting, then someone needs to pay for the cost of that pollution, or you need to stop doing it, right? And then the other part of it is, regulatory capture is part of it. So if the EPA is like, well, you're allowed to do some pollution and we'll just regulate the amount of it. But the people around it don't have a direct say. The people impacted by that pollution don't have a direct say. Well, that's crony capitalism. That's regulatory capture. That's the government giving a company the ability to offset their risks, offset their costs on a community that isn't able to get compensated for or isn't able to object to the cost being imposed on them, on their quality of life, on their health, on the value of their property. So there is ways that libertarians deal with this and think about this stuff. And the problem isn't the corporations. Corporations are, in my mind, like neutral on this. But the problem is when the state comes in and erases the ability for people to be able to get justice in this situation.
Totally agree with you. And when you were, so I'm going to differ with you a little bit. I don't believe the corporations are neutral. And the reason why I don't believe the corporations are neutral is because the corporations hire lobbyists, and the lobbyists, of course, lobby, they advocate for the corporation. So I don't actually think that they're neutral. I think they're doing what anyone would do, and that is advocate for what's best in their interests. So until the individual is able to come together with their neighbor and actually fight the entity that's polluting their waters, they will never experience what true capitalism is. True capitalism would allow them to seek redress. And an example of this here in the United States, the Army Corps of Engineers, the last time I checked, are the biggest polluters. Now, good luck and Hail Mary actually trying to win a lawsuit against the Army Corps of Engineers for polluting your waterways.
Yeah, no, and that's something a lot of people don't talk about. Yeah, U.S. military is like a massive, massive polluter in the United States, like huge, amounts of like carbon in the atmosphere, plus the, stuff going out to the environment. Like it's, the government is responsible for that. And I mean, here's, I don't know if I have time to get into this, but like my view on corporations, like, again, it's just like any other group of people. They're out there seeking to make money, right? Like, okay, whatever, that's neutral in and of itself. It doesn't hurt me. It may benefit me in most situations. The problem ends up becoming when you try to capture a piece of that government monopoly on violence to protect people from going after you because you're hurting them, or use that government monopoly on violence to create an artificial monopoly on the market. that's when you have a problem, right? Then that's kind of, in my mind, the definition of crony capitalism. All right, so when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that, and maybe like making more of the positive case for liberty, more issues where there's maybe some overlap too. Again, we're joined by Tim from The Liberty Show, and we'll be back with more on A Free Solution in just a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
The Finger Lakes Castle team is in its 7th decade of factory direct service to the service professional. From cleaning the ins and outs of your vehicle to keeping you on the road, Castle's got you covered. Castle makes streak-proof glass cleaner, FDA-registered sanitizers, and EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectants. Remember, when you need to keep it clean, use what the pros use. Castle. Accept no substitutes.
Castle keeps it clean.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Tim Smith from The Liberty Show. And we're talking about kind of some overlap between, the left-wing anarchists and the liberty movement. We're talking about kind of corporatism and crony capitalism. Maybe some areas where there's agreement. Certainly plenty of obvious areas for disagreement too. But Tim, I didn't give you a chance to respond to any of the last stuff I said. I didn't know if you had anything to add to that, or if we want to move on to another thing now.
I don't, but during the commercial break, you and I had a brief conversation, and we hit on the same thing that Jedediah and I, or actually Jedediah hit on during our conversation, was what is the role of the LP in all of this? And the funny thing about it, in my speaking with quote unquote ultra leftists, those that identify as communists or socialists, many of them are ex-libertarians. Yeah. And Jedediah brought up this whole thing about the Libertarian Party. So I would love to hear your thoughts on what is the role of the LP in converting so many liberty leaning individuals to socialism, to communism.
Whoa. let's take a step back. I don't think they're converting, but here's what I think is happening, right? I have this theory about it. It's that there is a chunk of people in the LP, and I don't know enough about Jed to know if this is like his personality, but there's a chunk of people in the party who are contrarians, right? Like they want to like be mad at something, right? And so like they come in and they're like, I'm mad at the state for some reason. Like I'm mad at the government, whatever reason. Like they don't have a hard foundation in all of the like the principles of liberty. They're not out there reading John Locke or Rothbard or like whatever, right? Or Mises, any of those folks. So they're no foundation. They're just mad at the state. Now that type of person who is mad at the state and gets radicalized in that direction, who wants to rebel against the two-party system and be mad at an entity that is causing their problems, that type of personality can easily shift in other radical directions too, because it's not a huge stretch to be like, oh, you're mad at the state. Well, no, what you're actually mad at are the corporations that control the state. Or when people are always talking about the libertarian, the alt-right pipeline, people would just say, well, you're not really mad at the state. You're mad at the globalists that control the state or the Jews that control the state. So like that type of radical personality, that's why there's a lot of like ex-libertarian members who end up either in the way far left camp or the way far right camp, is because they're just mad at a thing and someone else convinces them that they should be mad at another thing. And they just shift the ideology. So I don't know enough about Jed to know if that's where he came from, but I know like a lot of people who are ex-libertarians who end up in those radical directions, that's how they talk. They just want to be angry at something. They want to blame an external power for their problems, sometimes with merit, sometimes without. And they can easily shift into a different radical direction. They're against the status quo, and it makes no difference to them as an outside radical force if they're in the LP, the alt-right, or the far left. What do you think? What do you think of my theory?
I think that's an interesting theory. So my best friend, we've been best friends since we were children, so 20 plus years. One of my best friends, he was a libertarian, came in during Ron Paul. He was a Ron Paul libertarian. And after a few years, he decided that what Bernie was saying resonated with him. Now, what Bernie was saying didn't resonate with him because he was a socialist at that time. What resonated with him was that he saw Bernie on TV. He saw Bernie leading individuals in a direction that was, as you pointed out, that was contrary to the duopoly. And Bernie was saying, listen, I have solutions. We may not agree on everything, but I have solutions, and these solutions will give you a better life. When I look at the Libertarian Party, when I look at the LP, we don't have a Bernie Sanders. The closest we ever came to that was Ron Paul. And listen, I love Ron Paul. Ron Paul is not charismatic. Ron Paul is not good looking. When you look at the Democratic Socialists, when you look at the Socialists, they've got AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I don't know if you've ever listened to her. But I'm sorry.
AOC, I would say AOC is a very good organizer, but I don't think people are following Bernie because of his looks. I don't think that's
his charisma.
But yeah, he does have charisma. Ron Paul has a certain type of charisma, like the other people. Charisma. Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like the closest thing we got, like Larry has that type of charisma, and we're lucky to have him like here in New York State. But
love Larry. He's not
hasn't quite broken out to Ron Paul levels yet, though.
Exactly.
Maybe one day.
And that's the issue, right? Is that Larry Sharp, love Larry. Shout out to Larry Sharp. Larry Sharp is preaching to the choir. And anyone who's grew up in ministry, anyone who's grew up in church knows that you do not grow your church, you do not grow your ministry simply preaching to the deacon board, simply preaching to the choir. You have to go out into the hedges and the highways and convert these individuals into your belief system. Unfortunately, Larry Sharp hasn't been, and I'm not knocking him, it's not Larry's fault. It's the Libertarian Party's fault because they don't devote resources to the Larry Sharps. So because the Larry Sharp doesn't have the resources, he's not able to devote his time to knock on doors, to speak at school functions, to speak at community events, to win these people over to libertarianism, to win these people over to liberty. When you look at AOC goes out to community events. She goes out to churches. She goes out to schools. And the reason why she's able to do that is because she has organizations like the Working Families who's pumping cash into her coffers, which allows her to win people over to the socialists, to the Democratic Socialist Party, to the Working Families Party.
Yeah. Right. And so, and that's the big thing. Like I always say, like the big disadvantage, like the LP or like the Green Party and these other third parties have, like, besides like the state barriers, which is its own thing, is that like there isn't like an infrastructure in place, right? Like the Republican I was running against in Congress, right? Like he could show up almost any day of the week. There's a town meeting going on. He would be able to get a captive audience of dozens of people. They would run fundraisers for him. They would go out and put out his signs. They would go out and distribute his and knock on doors on his behalf. The LP just doesn't have that infrastructure in place to do that. Like as a candidate, even someone like me or someone like Larry or someone like Andrew, when he was running, like you have to really hustle. There's no like built-in like party of people who are going to support you no matter what you believe, no matter what you do, because like the Democrats and Republicans will absolutely put a lot of resources into a lot of candidates who won't even necessarily agree with them. But they have that built-in infrastructure to be able to do that. And yeah, the party just doesn't have it, and a lot of times isn't prepared with the type of people who are willing to do those things and have that level of loyalty. Because to be blunt, a lot of people join the Libertarian Party because they're like, I don't agree with the Democrats and Republicans, and I want someone who's going to follow my ideology. So if you get someone who doesn't follow your ideology perfectly, you're like, wow, why'd I bother with this then? So they don't have that loyalty that the Democrats and Republicans do. And and in addition to the outside organizations like Working Families Party and Democratic Socialists of America and all these other groups, and Republicans have their own thing too. Like Americans for Prosperity was doing stuff. Freedom Works was doing stuff. These are like 501c4 groups and like, other activist groups that were out like supporting candidates. So
absolutely right. And I don't know if you've ever attended a Democratic Socialists of America meeting. I enjoy attending them. The reason why I enjoy attending them is because I want to know what my adversaries are saying. What are they plotting against us that believe in liberty? And the interesting thing about it, when you attend one of their meetings, is that it's one of the most welcoming experiences you'll ever have. They don't ask, do you believe in XYZ? Have you read XYZ book or anything like that? The only thing that they're interested in when you attend one of their meetings is, hey, how can we help you? And what are the problems that you see that need to be addressed? And I'm not knocking the Libertarian Party too much.
Oh, so
here's the problem.
You went to a nice one though. Like, cause I'll just say like, radical groups tend to have like some of the same issues, like the far left, like anarchist groups, like the same issues as the libertarians is everyone's like, I'm here for my ideology, I'm here for my cause, and they will spend so much time debating like procedure and ideological purity, like that they can't get organized enough to go out and actually do stuff a lot of times. Like,
so was that like
functional, but a lot of them don't.
Was that actually a Democratic Bernie's party, the Democratic Socialist Party, that you went to one of their meetings, or another?
It wasn't a DSA meeting. There is like a Rochester DSA. It was I've been to a Students for Democratic Society, and I've talked to like the anarchist groups around here. And a lot of times, like a lot of these groups have that same issues that the LP has. Like a lot of people are very passionate, very radical, and not willing to build the infrastructure to move ahead. And some are, though. Some are dedicated, and you see them in the streets burning stuff down. You get those folks too.
But I think those are the splinter groups, if you will. The DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, those guys, at least the meetings I've attended, they're well put together.
Yeah, I know. I might have to agree to disagree on some of those. But thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're joined by Tim Smith from The Liberty Show. We'll be back in just a few minutes. You want to participate in the discussion, you can too. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Fly the flag, stand for freedom. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the News 10 NBC forecast on WYSL. For today, we'll see a high temperature of 71 degrees, partly cloudy skies expected with a slight chance for an isolated lake effect rain shower throughout the day. Overnight tonight, an isolated lake effect rain shower is possible, otherwise partly cloudy skies and a cool and comfortable night with a low of 52. Going into the start of Labor Day weekend for Saturday, 77 for an afternoon high. We're expected to stay dry under partly cloudy skies. I'm meteorologist Alice Bielfeld on your WYSL station.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
When you need contracting work done around your home or business, it's frustrating to find someone with the expertise, experience, and versatility that's just right. Chamberlain Construction to the rescue. Chamberlain's done it all, commercial and residential, and you name it, Chamberlain can do it. Roofing, siding, kitchens, baths, decks, porches, remodeling, bump outs, stores, garages, with the best in materials and workmanship. Over 30 years of reliable, ethical experience anywhere in our region. Chamberlain Construction, Dansville, 370-5959, 370-5959. Contact Lee Chamberlain, lee@chamberlainconstruction.com, spelled chamber, L-I-N.
Are you looking to update the kitchen, bath, or flooring in your home, but don't know where to begin? Whether it's cabinetry, carpeting, hardwood flooring, tile, or kitchen and bathroom remodeling, Claridge Design Center in Chilai Paul Plaza is the place to start. Locally owned with over 25 years in business, Claridge custom designs and builds quality remodeling projects throughout Rochester and Monroe County. At Claridge, the visions and ideas you have for your home are developed with the experienced Claridge designers to make your dream project a reality. And the quality of service you receive at Claridge is second to none. For more information or to schedule an appointment, call Claridge at 889-5800 or visit their website to meet the Claridge team. See examples of their finished work at claridgedesigncenter.com.
Emani, time for school, baby. Emani, time for school. Emani, it's time.
A different couch, a different floor, the backseat of a car. Over 2,000 Rochester school-age children are homeless, but now there is hope. The Open Door Mission Cold Water House for moms and their children. opendoormission.com/doves.
WYSL. Welcome to the Gun Show. New York gun shows are back. Join us at the Hamburg Fairgrounds September 11th and 12th and in Syracuse September 18th and 19th for a grand reopening. Find us and discover a whole new level of independence with a complete power system from Sol Green Energy. Mention WYSL for an incredible deal on a mini sun charger to power your next great expedition. solgreenenergy.com.
Eyes in Rochester is a full-service ophthalmology office, and we specialize in general ophthalmology, taking care of people from childhood to adult and seniors. We do general eye exams. We specialize in cataract surgery, corneal surgery, and disease, as well as LASIK surgery. We also have a full service optical shop and contact lens fitting service.
Visit Eyes on Rochester at 1157 Fairport Road.
Now is the time to make sure your children are receiving the education you want for them. At Archangel School, your children will receive an academically challenging Common Core and CRT-free education that honors your traditional American values. If you're looking for an affordable Catholic faith-based school for your child, from preschool through grade 12, come to Archangel School's open house Thursday, October 7th from 6 to 7:30, or enroll now at archangelschool.com or call 585-247-1112.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Tim Smith from The Liberty Show. And we're live here on WYSL until 1 o'clock, so that means that you, the listener, can give us a call if you want to hang out, chat, or leave your comments online too, either one. But if you want to call in, 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. Or leave your comment online on Free Solution Facebook page, Free Solution YouTube channel, the Kevin Wilson pages, wherever you want. And shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in Newark. Appreciate y'all listening. And our friends listening on the podcast too. We got several of you listening to episodes every day, so appreciate you being here as well. And I'll get to a comment from our friend Tim O'Connor. Says, I'm on a mission to win 100 arguments with 100 libertarians because that will grow the party. Yeah, no, it's funny, Tim. It's what a lot of folks in the party end up doing. It ends up being a circular firing squad type of thing, and you never get around to organizing. And again, I say this as someone who's a member of the party who's been in that, but it can get a bit frustrating seeing so much time and energy spent on that stuff rather than actually advancing a cause and talking to new folks. And Tim Smith and I were talking over the break. We're talking about how much of a percentage do you need to agree with someone on this? Like you talked with our left anarchist friend, is there enough agreement there to move ahead on a coalition on any specific issues? And would you work with someone like that?
Yes. So Jedediah is pro-gun, which is interesting. So I think most people
pretty common among the radical left.
That's true. And for me, I would not have expected that. I know Larry had a show recently where he also stated that the ultra left, they're pro-gun, they're pro-Second Amendment. And years ago, I would not have expected that. So with speaking with Jedediah, one issue that he and I both can agree on, that we both have common ground, that we can both fight the system against is being anti-gun. And here's the thing, right? One thing that Jedediah and I both agree on is that what firearms individuals are allowed to have now, what our overlords allow us to have, is not what the Second Amendment allows us to have. Let me qualify that. So what I'm saying is that the Second Amendment allows the individual to have a M16 if they can afford an M16, an M4 if they can afford an M4. So he and I both agree on this. So I say that, hey, Jedediah, you agree that the individual should be able to have an M16, should be able to have an M4. Why don't we both fight the system that restricts us, that infringes upon our rights under the Second Amendment? And of course, the Second Amendment doesn't give us rights. The Constitution doesn't give anyone rights. What it does is it acknowledges our rights. So I say that Jedediah and I, once you and I hang up today, I'm going to call Jedediah and I'm going to say, Jedediah, how can you and I come together and fight the system that wants to further infringe on our rights that are acknowledged under the Second Amendment? Yeah.
No, that's absolutely a thing worth considering. As I've run into many pro-gun people on the far left who, I can like kind of rule. And it's funny. I talked with was it Brianna Coyle like a while ago about like left libertarians. We both kind of agreed like, oh yeah, like don't trust anyone who's on the left who says they're anti-gun, because like they want to use the state to hurt you, like no matter what. They're not pro-freedom. Like even if they talk on a few issues, like that's kind of a good definer of like how they actually feel about the power of the state. And well, let me get to another comment from Tim O'Connor, who says 80-20 is standard. I'm at 60-40. That's what Larry always says too. Is like, 80-20 rule. If I can agree with you, if you agree with me 80% of the way, join me. Do you agree with that? Is that
so? I love Larry. Love Larry Sharp.
I know we're talking so much about Larry, our Tuesday host today.
I'm like the president of his fan club. But here's the thing. I don't have an 80-20 rule. I don't have a 70-30 rule. I don't even have a 50-50 rule. The only thing that I need you to do and what you should require of me is that on whatever specific issue we have common ground on, that we work together to find a solution and to advocate for that solution. And I believe that's actually what liberty is. Liberty doesn't dictate that you and I have to agree 100% of the way. What liberty states, or what it allows us to do, is it allows us to work together on those issues that we agree upon. And here's the thing. If I say, hey, Kevin, you and I have this rule that's 80-20. You have to agree on 80% of the things I agree on. And let's say you fall short. You only agree on 75% of the things that I agree on. Now, that means that you and I aren't going to be able to further the coalition for advancing whatever cause that we're going to hopefully win. So I would be shooting myself in the foot by requiring a purity standard. And that's what the 80-20 rule is. That's what the 70-30 rule, that's what a 65-35 rule, whatever your number is, that's what it is. It is requiring a purity rule. And that's what shoots, excuse the pun, that's what shoots and has shot the libertarians and the liberty movement in the foot, is requiring these purity tests.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get that perspective, and I think I kind of tend to mostly agree with you. I'm happy to build like some issue-based coalitions, right? Like assuming I'm gonna put in the work to do that sort of thing. Although it definitely depends on like who's in that coalition. Like there's some deal breakers to me. Some people who work in like bad faith. And it's funny, when I was doing like restorative fourth stuff way back in like 2013, like the socialist workers kept trying to like make the whole thing about them and like their economic issues and whatever. I'm like, get out of here. Like this isn't what this is about. This is about privacy. Like let's focus on this narrow thing. But like, so they weren't good coalition partners on that stuff. And I also think like it depends on like what their background is. Like, does the coalition that you're building around a particular issue like make sense, right? Like if you're building, and this is an issue within the liberty movement, I'm sure it'll make some people mad. But if you're building like an anti-war coalition, right? Like okay, like so you can work with some lefties, right? And you can work with some people on the far right too. But you're like, all right, do I say I'm gonna like work with these people who are like, hard right nationalist fascist types, but they happen to be against the war in Afghanistan? I'm like, I don't know if I can work with someone who wants to kill some of my friends. I can't do that. So like the 80-20 rule, even if they agree with me 85%, but like they want to kill gay people, like, oh no, that's not okay. I can't work with that person.
This is my thought on that. So here's the thing, right? Let's get back to the Second Amendment, to being pro-gun for just a split second. So the ultra leftists, they're pro-gun. Now, for me to state that, hey, I can't work with ultra leftists who are pro-gun because they want to use their guns to shoot me in the face, I would figuratively be shooting myself in the foot, because here's the thing. If they literally want to shoot me in the face, them advocating with me that we should expand what the government acknowledges as our Second Amendment rights, meaning, hey, I should be able to own an M16. I should be able to own an M4 if I can afford it. Me saying I can't work with this ultra leftist because he wants to shoot me in the face, that's shooting me in the foot, because if he really wants to shoot me in the face, he's going to ignore the law anyway and shoot me in the face. So I see this as, why shoot myself in the foot figuratively? Because I don't agree with this person on, I don't know, 80, 20, 70, 30, whatever the case is.
So
and the thing about it, I'm sorry.
There's some folks that are like, I'm going like, but if you ever get like some of those folks in power, right? Like they decide like they're going to take the levers of government and like use them to their own ends. I'm like, I don't want that person anywhere near authority either. So like, do I work with them on this particular issue to like get a thing done to advance liberty? Or do I be like, no, you don't need to be like anywhere near like anywhere near like having a monopoly on violence?
So that's the lesser of two evils or multiple evils argument, right?
Yeah.
Is that you're saying that, hey, if I work with this guy gets in the office and he's even more evil than the other guy, but at least you and I, or this evil guy who potentially could be in office, we agree on something, but because he's more evil overall than the guy who's currently in office, I can't work with him on this specific issue. I don't buy into that, right? Because that's saying, hey, I'm going to stab myself in the foot because I might get shot in the arm. Well, I know I'm going to get stabbed in the foot. Getting shot in the arm is a possibility, but getting stabbed in the foot is an actual thing that's going to happen. So I would prefer, and I'm just speaking for myself, I would prefer not to stab myself in the foot if the possibility is that I win whatever issue it is that I win. And perhaps down the road, I get shot in the arm. At least perhaps down the road, I'm able to prepare myself for getting shot in the arm.
All right.
I don't know that.
Yeah, right. No. I follow you. I follow you. You know, that's like you know the danger that exists now, and a potential danger down the road is a risk worth taking.
Yes,
to make that change. All right. So thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. I'm joined by Tim Smith from the Liberty Show. When we come back, we'll do a little we'll do Fake News Friday. Thanks again for joining us. Be back on A Free Solution in just a few.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, He is my refuge and my fortress, for He will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
It's Fake News Friday. I'm Kevin Wilson, host today of A Free Solution, joined by Tim Smith from The Liberty Show, and also apparently Tim O'Connor called in. Want to jump in
I'm
on
here.
that Friday
Can you hear me?
action? Yeah, I could hear you, Tim. What's going on?
So look, I ran across what possibly could be a fake news thing, and I wanted to say hi to Tim and tell him a great show. Much appreciated him joining you and, spicing up our Friday afternoon. But I did. I ran across this fake news deal, or is it fake news? Apparently, guys, and I know everybody's kind of burnt out from COVID, but they're finding COVID antibodies in the deer population in central New York. Is that real news or is that fake news?
I think that's real news.
What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I'm going with real news. That sounds very real to me.
Okay, I got to be perfectly honest. I can neither confirm nor deny it. I did see a meme that said it. I suspect that it's true. So it's an interesting concept, right? If COVID has an animal reservoir, we're not going to beat it as simply as everybody seems to think, right? So if it can migrate out of the human population into an animal population, and then it can migrate back. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. I think you guys are both right. All right.
Yeah, no, because I read a little bit about this, and it's basically like their body's responding to it, but they're not getting sick with COVID, so it's not like they're spreading it around.
Right.
But it could,
Well, Yeah, is asymptomatic transmission a thing or not? I don't even know, right? The science is not clear about that.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, Tim, are you sticking around to do fake news with us for the whole segment? You got to go.
I've got to go. I'm trying to get out of work early today, so long weekend kind of thing coming up. But thank you for taking my call, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for calling in.
All right, take care.
All right. Well, other Tim now. I'll let you go first with the fake news stuff. What do you got?
Hey, you know what? Before I go, I just wanted to give a great big shout out to David McCaig. He was a panelist on the Liberty Show, and he passed away recently. So a shout out to David McCaig. He was also, and I had the privilege of working with him on his campaign for congressman in the state of Georgia. So our condolences to his family and to his friends also, because he was a great, losing him is a great loss to the Liberty movement. So here's my headline. Cow spotted going through McDonald's drive-thru.
Oh, sure. Why not? Yeah, that's real. I believe that. Probably happens like twice a week.
Well, here's the actual headline. Wisconsin cow spotted going through McDonald's drive-thru. It was true.
Yeah. It was true. Yeah, no, I like, just what was the cow alone, or was the cow being led along or ridden by someone?
So here's the thing, right? It was a calf and two of its siblings in the back seat of an old Buick going through a drive-thru at McDonald's after being auctioned off at an auction. Only in Wisconsin.
Of course. All right. So I got one for you. This one's been interesting. Is Australia requiring all of their citizens to respond to random texts with pictures of their face and their location information?
I actually read that and my blood began to boil. This is what happens when you bend over and you allow the state. Oh, I forgot we're not on the Liberty Show.
Easy. This is a radio show, not a podcast. Take it easy. But yes, no, we imply. I think we can understand where you're going with this. But yeah, so yeah, that's real news. So it's something that happens. So the thing that it gets a little bit lost in context, but it only makes it slightly less Orwellian. Is it's only for people who are quarantined in a specific province, right? That they're starting to do this. So it's not the entire country of Australia, although each province has its own flavor of terrible stuff. But this one is so it's specifically in South Australia, and it's for people who are quarantined. And yeah, they get a text at a random time of day. So I have no idea if this is during daylight hours. So if they get a text at 3 a.m. or whatever, and they have to reply within 15 minutes if they're under quarantine with a picture of their face and send the location data along. And yeah, they're touting this as like, oh, look, we don't have to put you all in camps anymore. If you are suspected of having COVID, you can do this from home. You just got to send us a picture of your face randomly whenever you ask, or we'll send the police after you.
And you know, the funny thing about it is that a lot of folks have accepted this because they believe it gives them comfort. It gives them comfort in knowing that the quote unquote government cares about them. And this is a process. The government doesn't just wake up one morning and say, you know, I'm just going to start trampling over individuals' rights. No, it's a process. It moves over time. And before you know it, you're up there taking faces for the government so that they don't send their agents, men and women with guns, to shoot you in the face should you not comply.
Yeah, exactly what it is. I mean, like it's been wild. Like I have several other Australia-based news ones. So there's another one. Did you see the video? Of which thing?
In Australia, where the cops were collecting an individual who didn't comply with the COVID restrictions.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Yeah,
it's wild. It's like how'd they get to this point? Like how are they? They don't even feel like they could be a free country anymore. And then, you know, the other goofy stuff, you know, I won't use this one as a fake news item, but they're like, oh yes, we'll give you 15 minutes of like free time outside if you wear a mask, if you're vaccinated. What? Wait, if you're vaccinated, you're allowed to go outside with a mask on? What? No, that's insane. You know, like, I'm like, man, it hasn't, at least in this part of New York, has never gotten like that bad where people are like, yeah, you can't go out. You can only go outside 15 minutes and only if you're vaccinated and if you still wear a mask. No, they're not following any science at this point. There's no like rational basis for doing this. It's just about controlling people.
We hit on this on the conversation we had with the communists, the anarcho-communists. Folks are willing to give up their liberty if they believe that it will give them comfort. Folks aren't willing, at least today's folks, and this has been the story for many decades, folks aren't willing to stand up for their liberty if they believe that the government has their best interest at heart. And the government's only best interest at heart is their own best interest.
Yeah. It's like, oh, if it
excuse the cliche.
Yeah. If it makes me feel a little bit safe, I'll do whatever.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with their shooting my neighbor in the face as long as I feel safe.
Or shooting a bunch of dogs, for instance, which is another thing.
We have enough dogs in this country.
Oh, goodness. Tim's taking a hard anti-dog stance as I'm wearing like a fundraiser t-shirt for a local like shelter. No, something they did. They're like, oh, well, like these volunteers were going to go and like take home these like dogs at the pound. And the government's like, no, we don't want you going and spreading your COVID. So we'll just kill the dogs. Absolutely nuts.
If the government would shoot a dog in the face, just think what they would do to the individual.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're about out of time. Tim, anything you want to promote, talk about before we end the show?
I just want to thank you again for having me on. It's always fun. Thanks again, Kevin.
All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week with more from A Free Solution. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful long weekend.